Right then, so here we are with the Villiers 3K. We're going to have a look inside. I don't have a manual or any information about this, so let's see how it goes. This is the transmission side cover, I believe. The ignition side is already off. All the screws are out. There's two sizes. These two are short. You see I've marked with S's and L's. The rest of them are long. So if you've got one of these, that might help you put it back together again. Now, I've literally no idea what I'm doing with this, to be brutally honest. I just want to take it apart and make sure that it's definitely knackered before I send it, well, before I buy another one basically. But I think it's just literally the gasket that's holding this on now. So it should come off somehow. All covers and cases and things on this Villiers seem to be made of really flimsy metal, so I don't want to hit it too hard. Just a little tap with a hammer, very, very gently, should be enough, hopefully. That's what freed it off in the first place, but it doesn't seem to have got us any more progress this time. I'm assuming it's stuck on something. I think that's the clutch adjustment there. But how you get the bloody thing off, I don't know. Ah. Now, maybe get a screwdriver in that there, the cable guide. I really don't want to break it. Getting somewhere. I could just jam a screwdriver in the mating surface, but then I will knacker it up. So if it's not already broken, it will be then. A little bit of movement. Of course, I'm going to get transmission fluid all over the top of my fridge, and it's all gooey and caramelly, so it's not particularly good transmission fluid anymore. Let's put a rag down and get it out. I'm working in my pantry at the moment due to lack of space in the tent and because I nip out and do these things while my wife's out. Basically. It's a good job she didn't watch this, isn't it? I'm sure she will eventually though, when she realises that I've managed to get all these bikes done without going outside. So, let's put that there to catch the shite as it comes out. Let's carry on as we were. Haha! That sounded like a shim as well. Oh. Ooh, yummy! Lots of sludgy goop coming out. But we're off. So there's your clutch actuator. Can't see where this shim went. Look at that tiny clutch. That's eeny weeny. Primary drive. There's not actually a great deal to it then. Well, that's handy. So that nut, I assume, is locked in place by that screw. And then, yeah. Primary looks in good nick. It's a bit of play in it though. I don't know if that's out of tolerance a little bit. Actually, is this the clutch or is it the gear shift? I'm not actually sure. And it wasn't a shim, I could hear it was this thing. Doesn't seem to be much by way of gasket. Is that a gasket? No. There's a little bit of gaskety type residue there, but it may have been running all this time without a gasket, I'm not entirely sure. So that's the messy bit done. Just have to clean it all up now. I've got another rag. Here's one. Right, let's get wiping it down a bit. So yeah, you're exploring the Villiers with me. I have no idea what to expect in here. Oh no, it's all leaked. That is everywhere, oh god. Right, I'm going to clean this up and then go do something else. So, it may be in a couple of days' time when you get back to me. But that's what the Villiers looks like. I'll give you a bit of a close-up of it. Villiers 3K primary side and clutch. So there we are, exciting stuff. And not as complicated as I thought, just oilier. Just a quick update on the Villiers 3K. I managed to get the flywheel off by stopping the piston with this thing, which is actually supposed to be some kind of spanner for sinks, I believe. But I decided to use it as a piston stop. And I'm also going to see if I can modify it into a flywheel holder as well by putting bolts through it. But that's another video if I can get that to work. So the flywheel's off. I've undone the nut from the sprocket. Incidentally, the flywheel, I just used a 2-jaw puller. I'm not sure if the puller for rally engines would work, but I couldn't find it, so so yeah, just a 2-jaw puller on that. There is the stator. I'm not so sure about that ignition coil, but I'll have to test all the coils and everything. This is ready to come off. I think that's going to need the 2-jaw puller as well for the sprocket. And then over to the other side, if I can get it to turn over. There's the clutch, and I think what I'm going to need to do is probably those 6 bolts at the top need to come out, which involves flattening down the tabs on this washer. And then under there, can you see it? There's a boss nut underneath there. Take the clutch off. So that's where I'm at the moment. I've not done much filming because my phone's broken, and I'm currently using my little knockoff GoPro thing with a little shitty torch because it's not really light in here. But yeah, I'll continue filming when I can. Okay, so I'm filming on a different device now. This is my new phone, which I'll probably do a review on at some point. It's a cheap Chinese phone that's actually really good so far. So yeah, that's another video for another time though. So here's where we're at. I pulled the stator and flywheel off and everything before, didn't I? And the end fell off my puller. So there's my puller there. And that flat end on the threaded part there is interchangeable with a pointy one which goes in these little holes, which made it a lot more difficult, because this has got a little hole in the end as well, to pull the sprocket off. But I did it in the end. So there's the puller I'm using anyway, in case anyone wonders. It's a cheap eBay job, but it seems to do the trick. So that side is now done. I cannot see. Focus, please. Okay, this is going to be interesting to make videos with if it doesn't autofocus. There's probably a setting somewhere. But there's a seal. I'm probably going to, well, I'm going to be changing that seal at some point. And it doesn't appear to have any writing on it, and I haven't really been able to check out the seal on that shaft there. So once I got it all apart, I'll check all that out. So I think it's just these bolts around here, those bolts there, and there's probably a couple of other bolts somewhere as well, but I'm not totally sure, to get the cases separated. However, I'm going to take the clutch off first, which involves, I don't think I'll be able to do it today because I haven't really got time. So there's your clutch, and these tabs here look like they've had some hammer in the past. So someone's been in here before basically, but it's just a case of flattening those out, taking these nuts out, and then behind this cap here there's another another nut which you can't see. I'm not very impressed with the focus on this actually. It's the first time I've used this camera, but yeah, I'll see what I can do about that anyway. I'll maybe see if I can take you a better video of it when I can get it to focus properly. I think I've worked out how to get it more in focus now, but you can see the nut behind there, and there's the tab washer and everything, and then I'm going to undo that little screw there, which should allow me to take that bolt off, and then hopefully the whole assembly should come off. When I take that off, I imagine the clutch plates should all come out in a kind of pack or separately, I'm not sure. Another interesting thing about this that I've spotted, let's see if I can get this to focus. Come on, nope, oh good, this is excellent. Right, behind here there's obviously the sprocket for the primary chain, and then kind of up against the bell there appears to be another sprocket. If I can get it to focus on it, then, there you go, look, so there's another sprocket there. So I don't know if this part and the sprocket seem to be actually, the clutch bell and the sprocket seem to be sort of separate. So I'm wondering if when one sprocket wears out, you can just flip it round and use the other sprocket. But it does look a little bit narrower as well. So I'm not sure about that. Interesting feature. Let's work out what it's for. No idea if all the gubbins are going to pop out the inside of this gear change actuator when I take it off, but I want to see what's inside. I want to see. I'm assuming this is how what you're supposed to do before you dismantle the engine. Should have probably gone with the tripod for this bit really, but hey, I can do it one-handed. So that has the spring round it. But is that holding the whole assembly on, or is that just holding the spring? I think that may have just been to hold the spring, but at least now I know. Okay, so experimental new camera angle with the new phone. I've got a couple of minutes because my wife's gone to do the school run, so I'm going to try and quickly whip a couple of nuts out of this clutch, or a couple of bolts, just to see how it works. In case anyone's wondering, I'm working on top of the beer fridge in my pantry, which is absolutely stuffed with motorbike bits to the point where it's not really a pantry anymore, unfortunately. So the quicker I get the shed built, the quicker I can shift everything into here. Out of here, I do somewhere have a tiny adjustable spanner, but at the moment I'm using a big one. So let's see about. There are a couple of these nuts that I've knocked the tabs down on, but not all of them. I'm just doing sort of like a little test thing. That is tiny, isn't it? I've also somewhere got some imperial sized spanners, but I don't know where they are. Right, will it? Ah, yeah, that goes pretty easily then. So I'll just loosen a couple off for now. So there's no need to lock the piston with anything. I wonder if I can just do it without knocking the tab down on that one. I'll do it from that angle. Yeah, there we are. I'm pretty sure that went. Yeah, so that you can undo them without knocking the tab down. I think it's better to knock the tab down though, to be fair. So let's do it, but I don't suppose we'll have to knock it down much. Just enough to clear the corners on the bolt head. I want to get another one of these tab washers as well, but I have no idea if they'll be available. Good parts place for Villiers engines is a website called Villiers Services. However, they don't seem to have a great deal of stuff for a 3K. If you've got a bigger engine, then you're more likely to be able to get the parts you need by the looks of things. 3Ks weren't all that popular because they're a very apparently they're not a very good engine because they're a copy of the original Sachs engine that came on the Achilles Lido and early Norman Nippies, and they didn't copy it very well. Apparently it was of all the Villiers engines made, it was apparently the worst one. I read an article somewhere where one of the engineers that designed it, his son, had said, why didn't you copy the Sachs engine properly? Like, sort of taking the mickey out of him. So yeah, it's not hugely popular, but it's an oddity, and I do like an underdog, which is kind of why I work on mopeds at all, really. I don't like using adjustable spanners. They have a tendency to round nuts off and things. Right, anyway, you get the idea on that. I'm going to try and do a bit more. Right then, so I've got all the nuts out, all the bolts out except two. I don't want it to be like a big explosion of springs, but what I did was, these were the first two I undid, and I wound them out as far as they'd go while still having a bit of thread, and then left them in. And then that way they've kept this cap on while I took all the other ones out. So if you press it down, it releases the pressure off the bolt, but it's not easy to press down because there's now 6 springs pressing against 2 bolts. But I'm going to try. What I don't want is for everything to fly everywhere, because I will never find it in here. Alright, what I'm going to have to do then is put a little bit of pressure on it and use this. The other ones, if you put a bit of pressure on the pressure plate, it gives you enough slack to be able to undo them by hand. But because now the pressure from the whole thing's riding on these two, we're going back to using implements, and when it goes, I imagine it will go with a bit of a pop. Ah, there we are. So that's what I was doing before, only a bit less extreme. Push down and twist. Right, it's all held on by that one now. Let's get some springs out of here. Lost one. So these are the springs. Oh, they've got like little cups on them as well. One of them's that one's come out. Right, okay. So there's 6 of these little springs with the bolts running through them, and they're sitting on these pins. So put them in that pin for now, and I'll find the other bolt. One spring. I got it. So the final one, and now there's only one spring holding it down. So should be a bit easier to undo. It's going to be fun putting it back on though, isn't it? This is kind of how I operate with these engine rebuilds. I just do a little bit when I've got 5 minutes, which is why it takes so blimmin' long. But also it means I can get a little way and then find out what parts I need and then order them. Right, so there's the little, I assume it's aluminium tab washer thing to stop the nuts turning once they're in. That is the pressure plate. So I want to clean it up a bit, even though my gloves are dirtying it again. So there's your pressure plate. Tab washer. There's the final spring, and then clutch plates. So this is the first one. Will it just slide out? Anything stopping it just sliding out? Screwdriver. Oh yeah. This massive great nut is stopping it coming out. Dumbass. Right. Let's see if I can get it with this, but I'm going to have to stop for the day in a minute. Yeah, I need something to go in those 2 holes. Right, I'm going to have to lock the piston for this as well. with my piston locking sink tool thing. So here's what I've been doing, look, just put it under the piston, and then when it comes down it just nicely locks in like that. I've done it the wrong way, like a dumbass. There we are, right. So I'm assuming this is normal thread rather than reverse thread. And I'm assuming that's not the right way to do it. Right, I'll try with my good circlip pliers, but I don't want to bend them, so if it looks like they're going to start bending, I'm stopping. Yep, no, that's no good. Right, okay, back to the drawing board. That's enough for today then, in that case. Right, I'll see you next time I get 5 minutes on my own. Okay, right. I'm still struggling to get that out. I need something like a, I don't know, like a kind of spanner or something with 2 holes in it with pins through them that I can stick in those pins and use that. I've got a socket the right size, but it won't fit in between these and the edge of that nut. And yeah, that's basically where I'm at with it, unfortunately. So I'm going to try on this one instead now. So first I've got to remove this retaining screw, I imagine, if it'll come out. I think the idea of that screw is just to stop that nut undoing while it's attached to the bike, because then it'll destroy splines or whatever's underneath here. So we'll have to see about that. There's a little nut I've taken off. Oh, little screw, sorry. I'm going to put that in a bag. Got these little bags off the market. I think they're for putting weed in if you're a dealer, but I'm not, so I'm putting screws in them. They were cheap, they're £1 for like 100 of them, so I thought, why not? So there's that. Now I've got the flywheel locked with this thing still, so I should hopefully be able to get my adjustable spanners on it when I find out where my adjustable spanner is. Oh, I've put it somewhere. You wouldn't think I'd have space to actually lose things in here, would you? But turns out I do. There it is. Does it go big enough is the next question. Of course it doesn't. I've got a bigger one somewhere, I'll have to dig that out. Or, how big do these go? Yo! Here we are again, and look at what I found in the boot of my car. A very low quality shifting spanner, so let's see if it's big enough. Yeehaw. It's not very nice though. Oh my god. Causing an avalanche now. Wait a minute. Right, we're there. The problem is I have to work in this sort of pile of shite situation rather than an actual workbench, but that'll come eventually. So let's see if we can get this off. No. So, thought we'd sorted it, but no, apparently not. So the clutch bell's spinning, leaving the plates where they are. Oh, so annoying. I can see under there's more bolts to get the engine apart. It seems like it's held together by studs running through it. That's weird. But, yeah, right, okay, so more stuff to do now. Find a way to lock that without knackering the primary. What can I jam in it? Right, hopefully I don't break anything doing it this way. I don't like doing it this way, but it does need doing. I'm worried about knackering the chain up, that's the only thing. No, that's taking too much pressure. It's quite frustrating getting this open, since I've got no idea what I'm doing. There's probably an easy way to do it, but I do not know. Okay, let's try this on here. It's a bit floppy and a bit not flat and shitty, but it was £2 I think, so I only bought it really for taking headsets off with. Oh, I hate using these things on stuff, but we'll give it a go. No, I'm just going to chew up the nut. So yeah, basically I need a tiny version of the special wrenches you use for replacing the disc on your angle grinder, basically. If I can invent something like that, that'd be great. But for the moment, we are stuck in this situation. Oh well, back to the drawing board, never mind. Okay, so I think I may have found another use for this thing. Kind of fits in there. Let's turn it the right way up so you can see it. Yeah, it fits in there. So I've filed a couple of notches so that it fits round the edges of here without slipping out. And I'm going to try wrenching on it now and see if we can get this bastard nut off. Let's go with just there and there. I think I'm probably going to be better turning the engine upside down and trying it like that. If I can work out a way to do it. Did that go, or did it round off? I'm using some slightly better shifting spanners today, which are a little bit better and slightly bigger than the other ones I had. Not the really big ones, but the ones below, but they're on absolute maximum opening, pretty much, to get this far. Are you going to come up at that? It's proper stuck. Okay, right, I'm going to try wrenching on that a bit more. So I had another quick go at taking this nut off. As you can see, it was unsuccessful. I heated the nut up with a lighter in the absence of a blow lamp in here. So it's gone black, which is not amazing. And I used this in the holes to brace it against and pushed down as hard as I could and snapped it. This is cast iron or monkey metal or something, and it's just literally snapped it. So that's on quite tight. I'm gonna have to find another way to get that off, I think. Never mind. Such are the joys of working on small engines on a fridge in a pantry. So today I'm at work and I'm in luxury Stoke-on-Trent. I don't want you to get too excited about that, but it is very exciting. This is Stoke-on-Trent. It is exciting, as you can see. However, there is a machine mart up the road as well, so I went and bought this thing, which is a adjustable grinder pin spanner. And what I was thinking was, if I can get it to focus, so basically There's your 2 pins, like you have on an angle rounder spanner, but you can adjust it by putting it in the other holes. So hopefully 2 of those holes will line up with the Villiers engine, and I'll be able to use it to take that nut off. If not, I may end up having to drill another hole so that it lines up. But it's pressed steel rather than cast monkey metal like that other thing I had was. So I've got the right tool for the job, and if that doesn't work, God only knows how I'm going to get it off. Just a bit of a closer look at this thing. Pin distance variable, 26, 30 and 35mm, ideal for 4.5, 5-inch and 9-inch grinders. And on the back, there's your price look. Good old machine mark. They do things that I need occasionally when I can afford them. I only had £6 on me, so I did alright there. Right, I'm back from Stoke now. Obviously I'm still excited, but here's that adjusted correctly. The pins are in the right holes. Let's see what we can do. I've locked the cylinder off. The piston, I mean, not the cylinder. Come on. Why is everything so difficult? So how do you get into a Villiers 3K then? Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. So I think the problem here is these cups hold the spring in, so let's try and get them out. One nut, ridge side up, or indented side, that's up, it's plain on the bottom. This appears to be on some sort of boss in the middle. So, you probably can't see, but these are kind of countersunk beveled at the top, so where they're flat on the bottom, it goes downwards. There's one. Don't know. Disc. A friction disc, I mean. This will be on the boss as well. Plain disc, it seems to be the same both sides, but you can see it's been pressed downwards when they punch the middle out, so that's the way I'll put it back in. And another friction disc. And that one. And then, oh goody. So next I have to devise a tool to get that off. That's a big nut, that boss. So, how am I going to do that? Oh well, I'll clean these up and put them away for now. Ow! Right, let's just try something here. Nope. What I definitely don't want to do is knacker this boss up, so I'm going to be very careful. If these pins would go one either side in a groove, that'd be brilliant, but they don't, so I may have to drill another hole somewhere in this. Possibly. So it turns out a 24mm socket fits on here. That's a multi-point. That's a hex. Still works, so let's give that a go. Right, so this is attempt number 2 with the hex point one. Just not going. Yes. So that was compression fit after all that. It's alright, my wife liked it. So actually, you can just, could have just pulled all that off. There's no Woodruff key on it either. So now the clutch bell will come off once this comes off. So I have to get back to finding a creative way to get that nut off now. Don't really think it needed the screw in there to stop it spinning, because it does not spin for love nor money. Wipe my hands and I can turn the camera off.